Hello, 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 everybody. Hey everyone, welcome aboard. Everything looks alright. And we are here for another live event. Yeah, everything's okay. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. And this is the VHF UHF show, the one that is usually once a month, but hasn't been for 2 months. So it's always the last, basically the last Saturday show of the month. And here we talk about everything above 30 megahertz, and of course we can, digress a little bit and go into, some shortwave stuff a little bit if anybody has something interesting to listen to. But we're mostly going to talk about VHF UHF today. And of course, I will answer a few questions that have come through in the past week or two concerning, things that people want to learn a little more about the world above 30 megahertz, scanner radios, and all of that. And of course, there's a nice chat room. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And if I look tired, I am a little tired. I came back home from karaoke at 4 a.m. this morning. So, yes, I have my voice a little bit scrapey by the fact that I sang a few songs. And I am a little tired. But, hey, we're here. And we'll try to not fall asleep while doing the live show. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. There's a nice chat room with nice people if you guys want to join in. Like I said, my name is Gilles, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we will, of course, be talking about radio. So, hey there, Matt. No problem. You'll be back around 21:30 if we're still on. Hopefully, you'll be, you might be there, and it's okay, it's funny because I always get these, the people, telling me, well, I'm so sorry I couldn't been there, I couldn't be at the show last week, and it's funny because I always think about, why are you sorry of not being at the show? It's okay, there's other things in life than watching Gilles for 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever. And, I have a few guys that I follow on YouTube. One of them is Cosmic Lettuce that you guys see from time to time in chat. And he does a live show every day. And, I wish I could be there. And most of the time I'm doing all sorts of things. And I'm a very busy guy. So, just getting there in front of a computer to watch a show is, for me, something that's difficult. And and of course, sometimes you forget, and sometimes you don't forget, but you're like, well, I'm not really going to do that. Or, I do a lot of computer stuff, and YouTube stuff, so sometimes I just want to kind of, leave it all and do something else, watch a show on Netflix or a movie or something, rather than just, hang on YouTube with live shows. So it's the same for me, and I try to participate as much as I can, but it's sometimes a little difficult. And I do have a very active life, so often I'm somewhere else. Like yesterday at the karaoke. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you on board from Morgan City, Louisiana. KC9KUH, nice to have you here, my friend. Matambali, nice to have you on board from Colorado. Pagemaster, nice to have you on board from Moore, Oklahoma. Jerry DX, hello there, my friend. Nick Amendot, nice to have you on board from Romania. Hey, PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue. Oui, j'ai un joli chandail de YouTube, and it's nice to have you on board. I actually like it. It's actually a very nice little t-shirt. I gotta say, I like the color. What else do we have? David Arden, KJ4CMY. Nice to have you on board. Yes, here you can start now. Fastlow, nice to have you here. Fastland wants a YouTube t-shirt. Yesterday he wanted a Google t-shirt. Today he wants a YouTube t-shirt. We'll try to arrange that, Fastland. Yes, it's contesting day today. I turned on the on the 20-meter band on shortwave, and there were tons of signals from Europe this morning. A lot, some really strong stations too. I actually did a few things in the kitchen. I brought the XH Data D808, and I started tuning around 20 meters on it, and there were tons of signals from Europe. It was kind of really cool. Auditor's Allocrafters Kitchen, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. And he saw Apollo 11 last weekend. It's even better than they said. I was blown away. That's what everybody says, and that's what I really need to check out for sure. Is that P25-1 on the TV screen? No, that I believe is trunk. Let me just go here. Yeah, that's trunk control channel. This is really a trunk control channel, so and not P25. Eddie Essex, nice to have you here, my friend. Juan Amigo, nice to have you on board from Barcelona. Yes, my t-shirt does match the color of SDR Uno. I'll start doing this, matching my t-shirt with the surroundings. I'll try to have radio-related t-shirts. That'd be nice. Radio-related t-shirts. What else do we have? Candy Clover, nice to have you on board watching while playing the old school RuneScape. Randy, Riverside, California, nice to have you here. Matthew Wells, nice to have you on board. What do I watch on TV? All sorts of things. I like almost anything, except I kind of not like any movie that is like, you know, romance or stuff like that. I'm not that much into that type of movie, but you know, science fiction, action, all sorts of things. Horror movies, I kind of like that too. And I like to see new stuff. I like Netflix for that. There's a lot of new shows all the time. Easy to, you know, just not know what to do. Just put on Netflix, and you know. And also the fact that compared to traditional TV, what's nice with Netflix is the fact is you can binge watch shows, which is a lot more fun than waiting every week for the, you know, for what's going to happen. Jerry DX says, was up till 6 a.m. My head is screaming, why? Why all those beers? I didn't drink too much last night because I knew I had a show today and I didn't want to be too groggy. But I did impress. I'd never been to that bar. What happened is it's a friend of mine that lives in La Chine, which is in the west part of the island. And she goes to that karaoke bar, and you know, she came a few times to the Zoe bar where I go for karaoke here. So now it was my turn. You know, it's like, okay, I went to your bar a few times. It's your turn to come to my bar now. So you know, it feels like when I was young. You know, I played at your home yesterday. It's time to play at my home. So anyways, I said, yeah, okay. At first I wasn't sure because it's really far, but I was surprised actually by how fast I went there. Took there was an express bus for that area, so it took me like, I don't know. Yesterday when I left here, I think it took me about 40 minutes, and I was at the bar over there. I was like, whoa. The biggest problem was coming back at 4 a.m. because the bus service at 4 a.m. isn't that great. So fortunately, someone in the group that was there was coming back home towards the east end of the island. So he said, hey, you want to, you know, just, you know, hop in and I'll drop you wherever you want. So I said, well, draw me. There's a bus line here on the, next to where I live, the street. There's a night bus line there. So I said, well, draw me in that bus line and I'll be okay. I'll take the bus back home. So anyways, I kind of impressed a lot of people. I actually got 2 free beers in a bar that I don't know, which is pretty good. I mean, when I sang the first song, which was With or Without You from U2. And then I continued with The Doors, Light My Fire. They looked at me and they were like, whoa, okay, we don't have a regular karaoke singer here. It's that guy sings. So I ended up with 2 free beers, which is like, wow, I've never been here, and I'm already, they're already treating me like they want to see me again, you know. So it was kind of cute, a cute place. It was an interesting place. They had this, I found that to be a very good idea, actually. The bar was full, jam-packed, but obviously when you start hearing the DJ talk, you notice that everybody, you know, the majority of people in that bar are regulars that are always at that bar, like me at the Zoe bar. But what's interesting is 2 people were actually there for their birthday. And that bar actually gives a free cake to somebody that is at his birthday. So they had 2 free cakes. And of course, that was a lot of cake, so they would go around and ask everybody who wanted to have a slice of cake. And I thought, you know what? Of course, it's the cheap, you know, white cake with frosting. But still, and, you know, with a few candles on top. But still, I thought the concept was kind of cool because it makes you want to go there for your birthday. And of course, you're not going to go alone on your birthday. You're going to go there with other people. So, you know, the cake costs nothing. And they have people spending money there. So I thought, well, you know what? This is kind of cool. Free cake on your birthday. Not a bad idea, actually. Matthew Wells, nice to have you here. Jerry DX, yeah. Andy Cully, nice to have you on board. Billy Laptop, nice to have you here. PageMaster wants an official shortwave and VHF UHF channel T-shirt. Oh man. Maybe what I should be doing is, you know, there's these websites where you can actually, they take care of everything, and you can actually create a T-shirt. And all you guys need to do is, you know, you have a certain amount of time to purchase a T-shirt, and when there's a certain number, a certain number of T-shirts sold, they ship it all and they do everything, and they give you like a percentage of the revenue. Maybe I should take that kind of thing, because you know the biggest problem is T-shirts are fun and all of that and merchandise, but I don't want to be the guy that has to go to the post office and mail it to everybody, and you know, and have the ranting of, well, you know, I paid $30 for my T-shirt and I didn't get it. I want to use one of those services that actually does that for you, so you don't have to do anything except just design the T-shirt and let it do, you know. So yeah, Kenny Clover, some CQ contest, lots of corn testing. And all this, you know, the big gun signals, you know, like 9 Alpha, 1 Alpha, and S57DX from Slovenia, you know, all the big gun stations you hear all the time. So, yeah, Bobby, I know, you need to set that up and check it out for the digital stuff. So PLF Radio, yeah, we'll tune around VHF UHF. It's not as fun for you guys than either shortwave, because obviously it's more local, you know, but kind of cool. And David Arden says, I once worked with a guy who had a Radio Bahrain T-shirt. I was jealous. I was so sad when I had a Radio Canada International mug that I had for, 20 years. And I was so happy. And about a year ago, I was actually moving things around, and it fell on the floor and broke into a gazillion little pieces. And I was like, darn, of all the cups that I could have broken, I broke the Radio Canada International one, which made me a little sad. I was like, you know, I don't care about the other one, you know. I was like, I could have broken the, you know, the Toronto mug, or the, you know, I don't, you know. It's like I could go back to Toronto and get another one day, you know. Radio Canada International mug will never be available again. So I was a little sad when that happened. Radioactive, nice to have you here. Luis Arevalo, nice to have you on board. Just wondering, do you get channels from USA like CBS, NBC, and many more? Well, I got cable TV, so yeah, I got CBS, NBC, ABC, and all of that. Fox on TV here, absolutely. But over the air, like over the air TV with a good antenna, it's kind of with a good antenna and probably a good TV tuner for digital. I'm sure it's possible. I somebody that I remember telling me that just with an outdoor antenna on his TV, you would get on HDTV all the American stations from across the border, which include NBC, CBS, and Fox and ABC. So that's something that could be interesting. I've never, when I was young, it took a long time for my parents to get cable TV. We got cable TV. I was maybe 14, roughly. We got cable TV around 1983, I would say. And before that, when I wanted to watch the American networks, well, I'd just fiddle with the antennas on the TV, and I'd get NBC, which was WPTZ channel 5. I would get CBS on channel 3. I would get ABC on channel 22. And later I would get Fox on channel 44. But there was always a lot of playing around with the antennas, and having all of these funky, weird ways of putting the antenna, because that's the way you're getting the signal the best. All of that while my mom was always screaming at me that I would break the TV if I continue doing that. So basically, that was for a long time. Especially when I was young, I wanted to watch the cartoons on Saturday mornings. So the best cartoons that I liked were the ones on the the American networks. So I remember we had an old 26-inch TV, the ones in the wooden cabinet, and I would play around with the antennas and the dial. There's like the channel dial, but there was like that fine tuning, and I would eventually be happy with what it looked like, and was like, okay, now I can watch my cartoons on CBS or on NBC or whatever on Saturday mornings. And I guess, what, when you think about it, that's a way of introducing yourself to radio propagation somehow. Because that was way before I did shortwave, way before I had scanner or multiband radios. But I do remember being excited at the fact that I was getting a station from across the border into, Vermont. And it was kind of cool. For me, it was like, wow, this is, not only am I enjoying cartoons, I'm actually receiving the cartoons from a station that's, 100 miles away. And that kind of, I guess it already told me that I had that interest in radio and in radio propagation, because I wanted to have that. I was excited to have these signals. And I remember before I had radios, actually tuning each channel on the TV that had nothing on it and playing with the antennas to see if I could get something that I don't know exists on a channel. And that's where I got CBS on channel 3. One day when propagation was kind of really amazing, and probably due to some tropo effect, I had received channel 4, which was the CBC in the city of Quebec City, which is pretty far away. Then on channel 5 I had NBC. Channel 2 and channel 6 were local CBC here. Channel 7 out of I believe Sherbrooke, I could receive. Channel 8, I remember receiving, I think it was CJOH out of Ottawa. Then there was Channel 9, which was another channel from, well, Channel 9 was from, I think, Sherbrooke also. Or is it Trois-Rivières? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember very well. And then I remember receiving Channel 22, ABC, Channel 33, which was a PBS station. Channel 44 was a Fox station. And I was looking at these channels all the time on the TV. And I could, I remember that while doing that, one day, and you know, there was a friend of mine, one of my best friends still today, that had actually done some shortwave with me, because I told you guys I had a friend that for a while we were doing some shortwave listening and reception reports together. He was kind of excited at that type of thing also. And I remember one Friday evening being kind of, you know, that bored and just looking at, you know, I had a big black and white TV that I used to do just that. Tune around. You know, it was an unused TV. It was like I don't know, something like a 17-inch black and white or something. It wasn't 20-inch. It was smaller, a little smaller than 20 inches. And I would use that TV to play around. Nobody used that TV, so nobody said nothing. I could use it. I could, you know, so I would put it in the kitchen table and in the evening sometimes and play with the antennas or try to build antennas and put wires and try stuff. And once Friday evening, while going up the channels, I stumbled across a station on channel 62, and all there was a kind of an announcement. You know, if you see this signal, call this number. Let us know how you received the signal. If you suffer interference from the signal, call us. Let us know. I remember calling, and it was like an automated thing. And I had said that I could receive it, and it started out as a TV station, I believe, that was linked to the University of Montreal. They were planning on doing an educational channel there with kind of courses given over the air TV that you could actually follow. Which became later, I believe, Canal Savoir, which still exists today. But I remember when I saw that on 62, you know, when there's nothing new that happens. It's like, wow, Channel 62, this is so cool. And I called my friend and said, hey, tune your TV to Channel 62, you're going to be amazed. And he tuned there and was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And you know, there's always the new stations that pop up. I remember the 80s, I believe it was in the 80s. We had a new network, a new TV network, which back then was called 4 saisons, which means 4 seasons, which today is called V, simply V. And that too, I remember the first tests they did on the air on the UHF. Kind of exciting, you know. And so it just shows that apart from the shortwave and all of that, even before I had a radio, I was totally amazed and interested in the propagation of signals on the TV channels, VHF UHF TV channels. So there was something there for sure. Arjun Wiesman, nice to have you here. Yes, the SDR and the my t-shirt match. That would be nice. Have a waterfall t-shirt. Oh, man. NESX says lots of contesting going on today. Picked up Costa Rica and Manila last night. I got quite a few stations this morning when I was tuning around. Well, later today, because I did go to bed at like 5 a.m., so that means I kind of woke up at noon or something. But What else do we have? David Arden, yes, you do have a nice voice. We would ask you to sing on the show, but YouTube will, yeah. When I on one of the tech shows, I had live shows I had done. Somebody asked me to sing a song, and I sang a song from Billy Idol, and I immediately the next day everybody was telling me, "Hey, the live show isn't available to anyone." And when I went to see it, it said, "Well, the live show is not unavailable everywhere in the world because there's content," which was the song that I sang. I had to remove it to bring it back online. So, you know. Jerry, did you sing the Whiskey Bar tune from the Doors? No, I sang Light My Fire. That's kind of my favorite, one of my favorites to sing. I can tell you that. Purium and tequila. Actually, we had a funny moment with that tequila song because somebody was telling me, "Oh no, I don't want to sing. I don't sing good." And I said, "Well, you know what? They have a song here that anybody can do, and it's that tequila song. So it's like, you know, dun, 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 and it's like all you have to do is just say tequila." I said, "Everybody can do that one." I don't think someone can do that one wrong, actually. Yeah, David, absolutely. Designing a t-shirt for the channel. I'd have to check with one of those websites that actually you can have them created there, and they take care of all the shipping and everything. Because I don't want to. That's the biggest problem. Because the shipping is what is the problem for me. It's like, you know, I don't want to go and ship a gazillion items, but when the website actually does it for you, that could be interesting. Willie Rosado, nice to have you here. Page Master says, I don't know now, but back in the day, the video signal was broadcast on AM and the audio was being broadcast on FM on TV. I know that there's something like a wide FM or a very wide FM signal that contained two information: the TV audio portion and the TV signal portion. So it was kind of interesting. It was interesting also because the fact that there are two different information in there with a slight difference in frequency. You would sometimes have a great picture but distorted voice, or sometimes I have great voice but no pictures, which was very weird, you know, or all funky pictures that was almost impossible to decode. Lots of rain here too. We're having rain. We actually have had some freezing rain. Just before the show, I looked outside. My antennas are still covered in ice. Not a lot of it, but just enough that you could see that they're covered in ice. So even my vertical antenna, my VHF UHF vertical, is covered in ice. Kenny Clover says misses TVDXing analog TV signals on the low band, 50-60 megahertz. Would get a lot of stuff from Mexico. I believe there's still some stuff from Mexico and from Central South America that you could get on analog, because they still do have some analog stuff. J.D. Williamson, nice to have you here. Yeah, Jerry, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday cartoons. That was the fun times. And if things were right, it didn't happen often, but from time to time, one of the great souvenirs I've got about the Saturday cartoons is I would listen. I was crazy. I would actually wake up at 6 a.m. to watch the cartoons. You know, I look at myself today, I'm like, wow, I would really get up at 6 a.m. to watch the cartoons when I was 10. It's like, you know. But what was really cool is when I would start watching the cartoons, and I didn't know, but then I would have the smell of donuts. It was like my mom had decided to do donuts on Saturday mornings. and I would watch the cartoons and eat 2 or 3 warm, fresh donuts. That, or sometimes she'd make muffins or cake, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm gonna watch cartoons and eat muffins, or warm muffins with butter, or slice of cake just out of the oven. Some of the nice souvenirs that I have with that. Ray Lyle, nice to have you here from wet and windy South Illinois. It's pretty much wet and windy Montreal here too. Bullfrog 89, Katie's 2CXU, nice to have you on board from Albany, New York. And what else do we have? NESX says we had an antenna but no rotor as a kid. Used to have a pipe wrench on a pole, and my dad would yell out the window when I had the station tuned. That's really an interesting one, for sure. Bobby Burgess, here's something you can do with your SDR plate. Try getting a TV signal. Yeah, that is something I should be checking out. Absolutely. Wow. What else do we have? Just go down here. David Arden says, I wish I could get Canadian channels here in the US. It would be nice if Canadians would have a cable channel here. Yeah, that's sad. We have all the American ones. Actually, you know what? One of the things that I have done in the past year, because my cable plus internet and all of that was getting really expensive. And plus the fact that, they give you a package for like, for 4 years, this is the price. But after 4 years, I'll have to pay this and that extra. And so my bill went up kind of a lot suddenly after being stable for 4 years. So I called them up again. And of course, the first time I called them up, they didn't want to do anything much. But because I was insisting, the guy did transfer me to somebody else, which gave me some of those rebates that they usually give to new clients only. But she had the possibility to do it on people that were, with them for a long time. So I had some offers, but something had changed on my TV channels. And I had a lot of TV channels before, and I kind of freaked out because there aren't that many, I got a lot of channels. There aren't that many channels that I actually watch. But the ones that I do watch, I do want to have. So after it all ended, she said, well, you'll have the same channels, Yeah, okay, so I have the same channels. Oh, yeah, tomorrow you'll wake up and everything will be the same. No difference, but your bill will be, $20 less amount for cable. Okay. Wake up the next morning, I got none of my channels that I like. None. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I've got things that I don't want. So I went to the website, and on the website, I actually could change some of these. So at first, I was like, okay, what could I do? Then I actually found out that to have some of the ones that I like, I had to buy these packages of 10 channels or something, which meant the price got back up again. But overall, I was still happy because after I fiddled with all of it and added a package, my bill is still about $30 less for both internet and cable together. Plus the fact that my internet connection is faster than what I had before. So I thought, yeah, it's okay. Well, I'm not going to start going crazy about that. But one thing that I did actually do was remove some of the US channels. Because when I was young, I would watch ABC or CBS a lot on cable. But as I noticed that now, I don't watch the US networks anymore. For some reason, it's like the US networks are kind of boring today for me. So I actually removed them and chose other types of channels to replace them. Including one of them, I replaced one of them with like the BBC World Service TV thing. which is the BBC news channel or something. That I thought, well, maybe I'll find that more interesting than it's like CNN. I don't watch CNN. I kind of, I don't even watch the Canadian 24-hour channel news channels. For me, it's like the repeated news all the time. It just gets, annoying more than anything else. So, interesting. Hunter's Other Crafter's Kitchen says I received one of the Sherbrooke TV channels here in Massachusetts back in the 80s when Skip was crazy. Even got a QSL letter from the CBC. Oh, wow, this is cool. I don't have and never did. Funny, I never thought of that. I never did try to QSL a TV station. I QSL'd FM broadcasts. I QSL'd AM broadcasts. But I never QSL'd TV broadcasts. I never thought about that. Huh, interesting. Yeah, internet streaming is a lot what I do too. I go on Netflix, I watch, there's so much stuff on YouTube. When you start going through YouTube, by the way, there's so much stuff there. I'm sure there must be some videos on YouTube of people showing off TVDX on the VHF UHF channels. And yeah, you could use a VPN to get stuff from other countries. I hate that when somebody posts something and it just tells you, oh, well, you can't watch this because you're not in the US, or it's like, oh, please. Yeah, well, it's CBC, so it's get them in the same place as the RCI. Hey, Mick. Yeah, bed at 5 a.m. It was a pretty good karaoke evening. Pretty good karaoke. The bar closed at 3. I left the bar there at, I think it was 2:30 a.m. Jerry says, yo, SDR Play Designs, seashells, strutting down the runway with his SDR shirts. We'll do a radio-related, fashion show. That'd be interesting. Radio-related fashion show. Jeffrey Crop, nice to have you on board from New Hampshire. So, we'll check that out for the stuff and the merchandise. Artist Other Crafter's Kitchen says, got a few pirate QSLs, but the Sherbrooke TV one is definitely a prize. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just check something here. This is... we're going to talk about the ISS, by the way, guys. Okay, that's okay. Sorry, just looking. Something was a little weird. We are back. Okay, you know what the NTSC stands for? Isn't it the National TV... What was it? The National TV... So, National Television System Committee, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what it stands for. David Arden says the TV audio was FM, but the video was vestigial sideband of vesting of the LSB and full USB. Interesting. If your antennas are covered in ice, does that mean you can pick up some really cool signals? Probably. Well, it's the same thing, David Arden. It's just that today, the idea of getting up at 6 a.m. for me is kind of a tough one, Hey, I have to get up at 8 to go to the CT International Radio Report, and I find that kind of early, and it's 8. I mean, for a lot of people, come on, it's 8. It's not that early. I remember a friend of mine working saying, well, you complain getting up at 8. I get up at 5 to go to work. I said, yeah, I know. I used to do that also at one point in my life. Brett Wayne, nice to have you on board from Salamanca, New York, EC2 and XP. Terry Cook checking in from Montana. Nice to have you here. Pagemaster says, I have a TV signal down here in Morocco on 161-700. It is the audio side of TV station KWTV Channel 9. They probably have some kind of studio relay. Sorry, guys. I had that one coming for a while. I was like, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I got audio from some of the stations, like around 450 megahertz. I don't know if some are open right now. Yeah, 450, 850 right now. 825, sorry. So there's kind of a buzzing with it, but 450.825, that is actually one of the studios. One of these studios, TV studios in Montreal that has that. Another one for me is 149.620. 149.620 is whoops, just gonna start. 149.620 is actually the CBC French. They often have audio of their programming. 149.620. Right now there's a carrier with nothing, but we often hear the announcers. I remember listening to the CBC News Bulletin in French, and when they were going into the ads, I would hear the news anchor talking about what's coming up next, and people and other people, telling him, oh well, the next news is like this and that, and don't forget about that thing. And I remember one night we had an announcer that his name was Bernard Dehomme, and he was popular. It was like on the CBC 10 p.m. news in French here for, I don't know, like 30 years. And I stumbled upon that news broadcast, and I put on the 149.620, and every time there was an ad, I discovered that he was the most annoying idiot that you could ever find, just by his comments. And he was always unhappy about something. It was always something wrong, and he would curse. And then we would come back on TV, and it made it a very interesting experience, because you could listen to the newscast where he was serious and doing all this stuff. Then you'd go into the ads, and then you'd hear him curse and say, oh, I'm not going to do this like that, and this is no good, and who did this, because this is really, really bad. And I remember it changed my view of that guy, because everybody was like, oh, that guy is so good. And I was like, that guy's an idiot. He might be good at giving out the news, but he's an idiot. I just discovered he's an idiot. There was another guy that would also do some news. And that other guy is a complete opposite. In between the news items, there were jokes. He was telling jokes, singing, doing all sorts of things. And I was like, oh, that guy looks cool. He's actually enjoying it and having fun on the set when there are some ads, and then he comes back to a serious moment and, gives the news out. So, Yeah, Mick, here the problem is if you threaten, I'm with Videotron, if you threaten them to go away, they're just going to say, well, go away. The companies here are very, very independent. There's not enough real competition. We need more real competition. So, and I don't want to go back to Bell. I had so many problems in the past with Bell. I don't want to go back. So, William Helms in Florida. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool to have you here. Real loves Murdoch Mysteries from Canada. William Helms says US TV is crap. I agree. I'm way more into YouTube. Yeah, pretty much. PLF Radio says here in France, within the 30 free channels, we have 4 continuous news channels. Here we have, here the continuous news channels are not free. We actually pay for them. They're not over the air. You can't get them over the air. They're only on cable. And we've got 2 French and 2 English language continuous news channels here in Montreal, I believe. It's 2 French, just thinking, yeah, 2 French, 2 or, yeah, 1, 2, maybe even 3 English continuous news channels. Not sure though, because I don't watch the English ones most. Even though I do most of my viewing in English of pretty much everything, I still pretty much tune into the French language side when I listen to the news stuff. Eddie Essex says, I have HD Omni on the directional antenna 30 feet up in the tower. Get 37 channels, mostly out of Detroit, 50 miles away, and 1 analog CHDH out of Hamilton, Ontario. That's good. That's good. And you know what? There's one thing about that is that I've had a lot of people I've seen that actually still have those outdoor antennas and don't have cable. They use those outdoor antennas on their HD TV and do pick up quite a lot of HD channels over the air. So, I wouldn't be surprised that for people, if there would be a good setup. I mean, I don't have an antenna. Yeah, oh, maybe I could try. You guys want me to try to let it scan to the channels and see what we can pick up? It's plugged right now with a piece of wire, and I don't think I've scanned the TV channels here on that TV since it's been up here. I'm not sure. So let's check it out here. We go to the menu. And, okay, how do I do that? I don't remember. We'll go here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, here's the auto program. Okay, but I got to be on TV. Okay, let's change the input to TV. What is it receiving? So there's nothing here. Let's go here. Let's change the mode. I need to be in over the air, signal antenna, and auto program. Wow, it could take 50 minutes to do this. Really? Anyways, let's do it. Let's let it scan, and we'll see how many channels it actually gets. It actually found 1, 2, and it's going. So we're going to let it do its job, and we're just going to look at what can and it's just a piece of wire that's plugged in. So no fancy antenna or nothing, but it's going to be interesting to see how many over-the-air TV stations it actually will get right here. The National Standards Television Committee, or never the same color. J.D. Williamson, not the smartest choice. P. Bancroft, 53, nice to have you on board. Luis Arevalo, does anybody know how to unencrypted police frequencies in Los Angeles? Just curious. Can you guys, anybody have the information of if you can listen to the police channels of Los Angeles? Relial says, I've got some electrical noise on my radios. It dissipates when it rains. My local power company is trying to find it. Not bad, just under 1 on my shortwave radio, but audible. Yeah, it's still there, and it still, creates a lot of problems. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board, my friend. And thanks for the donation yesterday. There we go. Found 8. So there's... Okay, so this one is... Let's just remove the menu. So this is CBC French. Then we have CBC English. With an ad. This is our local Channel 10 French language private network. Then we have the CTV network. They're very nice, very, very crisp video. This is Télé-Québec, which is the Quebec network, the Quebec province French language network. And then we've got V network. And we've got, what is that? I don't even know what that is. Ici Télévision 47, channel 47. I don't even know what that is. So this is in Arabic. It seems to be Arabic. And 62, which is a prank show apparently. CDTV.
So, how much is this? Oh, this is by weight? $9.12?
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I got. Huh. I wonder what a good antenna what I could actually receive here. Might be interesting to check that out and see what are the channels that I would actually get with a good antenna. One helps him. Some weird guy on the news when I was medium wave DXing said something of a Russian invasion of Venezuela. Okay. No problem, Brett. Yeah, that's the sad part. These the Roku and stuff like that. You can't. You can see the chat, but you can't. Comment. Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board. But you know what? It's kind of interesting. JK, nice to have you here. Mick says CBC Fred showing Midsummer Murders. So, you know. And Nathan Petrovsky, nice to have you here. LEPD are in the clear to use P25 system. So it's not an encrypted system. It's just a P25 system that you need either a specialized scanner that can get P25 or you can actually use a RTL-SDR and use some of these plugins to decode the P25 system. I believe that works also. And you know, PLF radio, they're all digital. There's no analog TV channels. It didn't find any analog. There's no more analog here in Montreal. It really found digital, only the digital channels. You know, it makes me curious because I got 8 now. I'm curious to see if I kind of use or design some antenna of some sort. If I could be surprised because there's some missing in there. Because I got 8, but there's absolutely some missing in there. There's more channels than that. So yeah, maybe I could check that out. I saw one the other day at a place that I go, a modern digital TV antenna, and I was like, wonder if I, just for the, you know, I thought maybe it'd be fun to make videos of it. I mean, they are good for this channel because we are in the VHF UHF range. TV channels are part of that range, so it would be okay to do the, you know, maybe buy the antenna and test it out, you know. So that could be interesting. So you're watching the VHF UHF show, and of course we are talking about anything above 30 megahertz. Yeah, there's a lot of scanner radio apps that are kind of cool to use. I have Broadcastify is good. I also use Scanner Radio Pro, which is a nice app. And you can So this is what it looks like. You got the streams stuff, and you can check out the top 50. You know, choose by category or by type of communications you want. This one's nice also. There's a free version. I purchased the Pro version, which I believe it gives you more. The Pro version gives you more streaming capabilities. There's more stuff you can actually stream than the free version, but the free version works well and does have a big choice also. It's just that you'll have some ads from time to time. And it's a lot of fun, you know. It doesn't, of course, it's fun to have a scanner radio do things, but what's nice with these apps is that you can actually also, you know, when you hear something happening in a city or somewhere, well, you can, you know, use one of these apps and see if you have stream for emergency services in that city. Something you're not going to be able to do with a scanner radio. These are kind of fun and cool to use. Don't forget that you're using data, so if you're going out and you start streaming with these, don't forget that you might be streaming over your data. So not to go overboard on the Broadcastify has an app also. I believe I got it here. Let me just check it out. I think Broadcastify has an app. We have it here. I thought I downloaded. I think Broadcastify has an app. Broadcastify. Oh yeah, I got it here. It's Broadcastify Police Scanner that it's called. So this is what it looks like. So same thing here. So this is what it looks like. And it's called Broadcastify Police Scanner. So when you open it up, it actually opens like this, Broadcastify. So lots of global feeds and stuff. You've got alerts also, which is nice. Any feed that has a certain amount of listeners, you have some alerts to let you know that maybe something is happening in that city. That's kind of cool also. Any others? Yeah, 50. The 50 app is not bad at all also. There's quite a few of those. I mean, there's quite a few of those apps. I'm trying to see if I have any other ones installed here. And don't forget, guys, if you want to listen to the radio on your smartphone, the FM band, if the chip is unlocked in your phone, Next Radio app is the app for that. It gives you the possibility. Do I have the earphones here? Yeah. The possibility. So all you got to do is plug your earphones on most of these because they actually use them as antennas. And once you do that, you can. So here I've got CKUT tuned. I wonder why I've got CKUT. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of certain international radio reports in the morning. So you know. So you can listen to this. I believe it. You know, if I can have you guys listen in. So this is turns your phone into an FM radio, Next Radio app. But you need to have your phone needs to be unlocked for the FM chip. If it's not, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to. Tune any FM stuff. Yeah, JD Williamson, you are a moderator on the shortwave channel here, moderator, and here it goes, moderator. How about adding PageMaster as a moderator? Moderator, PageMaster. PLF Radio, moderator. PLF Radio, and there we go. Moderator. We got 3 new moderators. How about that? John McClure, nice to have you on board, my friend. So we've got 3 new moderators. 3 times faster when an idiot shows up to get him away. You guys are so fast anyways. All I see when I go through the chat is always, like, oh, that guy was removed, that guy was banned, that was guy, it's just funny. It's just funny. So nice to have all of you here. Names that you see from time to time, that you see that are worth adding to the moderator list. Oh yeah, absolutely. You guys do police the chat really well. There was that little moment, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago, when, somebody was, yeah, you're a moderator, page master now. You got that little wrench next to your name. So when you see somebody do something, you can kick their butt. Holy frequency. And when we get to the shortwave channel next week, we'll make sure you are there also. I'll add you next week on the next shortwave show that you're on, so that you can kick the butt of someone that is not worthy of being in here. Mad Reader DXer, nice to have you here. Somebody was asking me the other day about what are some of the models of scanner radios that actually decode, some of the digital stuff like P25 and so on. So I've got a little list here of a few that are of interest. And of course, there's the Whistler TRX-1, which is a great device. Fastload has it, and he loves it, and lets you listen to many types of digital transmissions. So it's pretty cool. You have, of course, the tabletop version, which is the Whistler TRX-2, which is kind of a tabletop version. There's another one that is, I'm just going to check, another one that is apparently not bad at all is the Ohm Patrol 2 by Uniden. So Uniden has a Ohm Patrol 2 that has some device, some form of digital decoding that can go on. So there's a few like that. What do we have? Anybody have recommendations for some digital stuff? There's the Uniden BCD996P2 that has APCO 25 phase 1 and 2, X2 TDMA, Motorola EDAX, and LTR trunks. So there's a few little things in here that are interesting. Looking here at the prices. Uniden BCD996P2 is $350 US. The Ohm Patrol 2 is $467 on Amazon, US dollars, of course. Whistler TRX-1 at $470 US dollars. I looked on Amazon Canada, and it's on Amazon Canada was $700 with free shipping. It's funny because when I looked at it, it told me, oh, you want to have it tomorrow, Sunday? I was like, what? Really? You can actually order it and have it tomorrow on a Sunday? Okay. It's not in my budget. It's the price of having Mr. Paul the Cat to the vet this week. So, kind of nice. The AOR DV10, John McClure, absolutely. I've seen a lot of people being very, very happy. Very, very happy about this device, the AOR DV10. How much does it cost? AOR DV10. Let's check it out here. Is it available on Amazon Canada just for the fun of it? AOR DV10. It's not on Amazon, but AOR DV10. Wonder how much Radio World in Canada has it. Wow. In Canada, the ARDV10 from AOR is $1,595. That's an expensive radio. 1,595. 100 kilohertz to 1,300 megahertz digital receiver. As traditional analog modes, including single sideband, CW, AM, synchronous AM, FM, as well as various digital modes, including APCO P25 Phase 1, DCR, DMR Tier 1 and 2, Moto Turbo, DPMR, NXDN, Tetra, Alinco EJ47, GMSK, D-Star, and Yaesu Fusion. Pretty complete device, though. Pretty complete device. But wow, 1,595. That would be a contender if I would choose one. It's very expensive, but I kind of like the fact that it's digital and has also single sideband and all of that, because I kind of am a guy that likes to have like an hybrid radio, one that can do the digital stuff, but that can also do the analog stuff and let me listen to satellites, for example. So kind of cool, but very expensive. Very expensive. Mick, that looks like a Guinness. It's not. It's it has the same color, but it's a 3 pistoles right now. What else do we have? Adrio DX says, I think the ICOM ICR30 can decode some modes too. Yes, it can. Absolutely. The ICR30, forgot, but ICOM ICR30. That one is about $1,000 here in Canada, which is also quite expensive. Sean Fine, nice to have you here. Don't forget the Uniden UBCD 3600 XLT. That's another one. That's another one we can add to the list of scanners, of police scanners. Let me just check it out here. The Uniden ECD 3600 XLT. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Digital radio scanner for radio frequencies, air bands, and so on. Sold. Trying to see if there's a place where it's sold. I can see a price. Interesting. It seems to be more. A lot of UK stores. Radio World UK has it. I don't see it in the stores here in North America. Kind of interesting. It's as if it's kind of made, or you know. So UBCD 3600. .eu, CB Plus, Ranker.eu. Well, all the places that sell it are all in Europe. That's interesting. Huh. It's as if it's made for the European market mostly. Interesting. Radio Week signal work. Nice to have you on board. K7LNP. Runner Bean 1980. Nice to have you here. He's got a bow fang. A lot of people have those. A lot of people have those. Shunfai says the UVCD 3600 XLT scans APCO 25 phase 1 and 2, DMR, Motorola, EDAX Pro Voice, and LTR trunk systems, as well as conventional analog and P25 digital channels. Cool. Shunfai says, but I've sold my one because it's a bit crap, really. Oh, really? You had a lot of problems? You know, that's one of the things also that you gotta check so much when you buy one of those radios, especially at the price they are at. Because, I mean, some of them don't perform well. You know, that's one thing that I always look at. I've been burned once with a scanner radio. When I started having scanner radios in the 80s, I started with a really, you know, I mean, we had, of course, the multiband stuff like this, but what I call my first real scanner was a 10-channel handheld that was on sale for like $50, which was all I could afford at the moment that I got it. But, you know, it could do VHF, UHF. You just had to be very creative because with 10 channels, you didn't have a lot of space to program anything. But it actually performed well. I mean, the reception part of it was good. And I like the fact that it also went down to 29 megahertz because I could listen to some of the FM repeaters on the upper part of the 10-meter band. Then my first programmable scanner that I purchased after that was a Pro 2022 tabletop model, a Realistic Pro 2022 that I sold to one of my friends that still has it today. And that one performed also quite well. And so I had the Pro 2022. On the handheld side, I moved from that 10-channel portable to the Pro 43 because, which is here by the way, and one of the reasons why is because I wanted to have the military band, because at that time there was still a lot. It's actually scanning all sorts of stuff right now, that old frequencies that I programmed in. It's actually scanning there, so that's kind of interesting. So when there was the military base in Plattsburgh, New York, they had a lot of exercise. And when the planes were up, I could hear them on the military band with this, and I was very, very happy and heard quite a few times. And I was happy to have purchased this because I thought, well, this is cool. I got military band stuff, you know. And so there was a military band, and the fact that I could tune in to some of those repeaters that were on the 200 megahertz range. So like I got one here, 224740, and I could actually hear some of these repeaters. So I was happy. It had a frequency range different than the ones that I had before. And so this was my first truly good handheld scanner. And I used this a lot. I mean, I listened to this so many times. This scanner has been used and used and used again. And from time to time, I like to turn it on and scan and see what's, you know, available in there. It has the mod. It actually had the mod done for the analog cell band back then, so I could hear the analog cell frequencies. And for a long time, I lost track of it because my mom wanted to have, when my mom moved to an old folks home, sometimes she would pick up my scanner radio and just tell me, can you just set it up so I can listen to the police? And I was like, yeah, sure. And when she moved to the old home, she said, oh, by chance you don't have a radio that I could, you know, borrow and listen to the police from when I feel like it from time to time. And when that happened, I had my Pro 92 here, which was doing trunking. So I told her, look, I'm going to lend you this one. Just make, don't touch anything. Just make sure that it's, when you turn it on, it scans automatically the police channels. That's all you got. And sometimes she would like to listen to analog phones, cell phones. So I would tell her, well, if you want to listen to analog phones, press 0, because I had programmed a lot of frequencies in the 0 for cell towers. So she could listen to some calls from cell phones. And I said, when you're over, just press 1 to get back into the police and so on. And I almost forgot about it. For the few years she was in the hold home, she had it, and I didn't miss it because I had the trunk scanner here, which was pretty good and did everything I wanted. I had the Pro 2006 here, which was also my main base scanner. So I didn't really miss having this to my mom, and especially because they had shut down the Plattsburgh, New York Air Force Base. So I couldn't listen anymore to anything really military. I didn't hear anything anymore. So it was okay. And when my mom died and we emptied the apartment, that's when I started looking at the stuff, and I said, oh, my Pro 43. So I'm gonna get, I'll take back my Pro 43, and because I was kind of, I don't care for the stuff, and people, there were some people that were kind of like, I want this, I want that, I want that. I was like, I don't care, take whatever you want. I don't want to have anything. But I did wanted my scanner back though. And where I wanted to go with all of this is that one day when I had my Pro 43 for a while, they had a new model that went up to 1.3 gigahertz. So this one ends, I believe, at 960 megahertz or something like that. It ends somewhere in the 900 megahertz anyways. Let me just program here. I'm going to check it out. 999.999. Enter. No. 960. I believe. Yeah, it does go to 960. And I think that's where it stops. 960 megahertz. So I got that 1.3 gigahertz. I believe it was a Pro 26. I'm not sure of the number, but I think it was. And it was the crappiest scanner receiver I'd ever had. It overloaded everywhere. It overloaded so much that in the amateur band, I would listen to a repeater. And when a strong signal would appear, it would desensitize and I would not hear it. And then it would come back after a couple of minutes. And I was like, what is this crappy shit? So I decided to sell it to somebody that wanted to have it. I put a little ad, and immediately somebody said, hey, I want it. And I had purchased the Pro 92. So when he asked me, I didn't say it was the worst crap that I ever owned. I just said, oh, I'm selling it because I have a new one. I just stayed shut that it's just a bad radio. And which I shouldn't have, but anyways, he was happy to have it. And he had it like, $200 less than buying it new, so he was happy. I was happy. So to come back to what we were saying, one of the biggest problems I think what would be important for me in choosing a scanner radio is to know that it really performs well. Because after I had that one, I learned a lesson. Okay, there are crappy radios out there, even when they're expensive. Some of them are really crappy, which was, kind of a lesson. And so I understand that, we look at all of these radios at 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 700, 800, 900. I'm sure there are some of them in there that are not necessarily that good, honestly. PageMaster says eBay has it for $10.50.79. Andrew DXer says, I was going to say the AOR has a lot of features, but also starts at 100 kilohertz, while other cheaper ones generally start at 25 megahertz. That's why I'd be tempted at the AOR, because it is a more complete set of features. So what else do we have here? William Helms says this Pro 94 is like ancient history. Radio weak signal works, still lives as Pro 2006 for local analog. I like mine. I like mine a lot. The display is faded out. It would need to be replaced, but I still have mine, and I don't want to depart. It's one of those good tabletop scanner radios, analog scanner radios that was made by Realistic back then. William Helms says we still have the cell phone band plan. Band, yeah, pretty dumb. It's so high frequency, and it's digital. Yeah, you know, that's the stupid things I gotta say about these regulations that become outdated. I mean, there's no need anymore to block the cell band, analog cell band, and even, you know, I mean, it's crazy because the regulation's still there. So when a company makes a radio, it still has to remove that to have it approved in the United States. Yeah, and that's what I saw, Sean Fay. I wasn't sure if it was the same. So, okay, it's a different number in the US. Because when I searched for the 3600 XLT, I saw a lot of images and things show up for the BCD 436 HP. So they're probably the same thing. PageMaster, solid carry on 174.310. Are you sure it's not a birdie? Got to be careful. Actually, somebody asked me a question about that. How to know if it's a birdie or if it's a signal that you're receiving on your radio. Very, very, very simple. If you want to know if your scanner, because, okay, first of all, what are birdies for those that wonder? A birdie is a internally made signal from this radio itself. So these devices are very, very complex. And of course, there's a lot of oscillators in there. And that means that the oscillators, that the different circuits, are going to create a signal on some frequencies. When they designed the scanner radios, they tried to have the birdies out of the ranges where you will tune, or they will at least try to have them show up where it's not much of a problem. It won't interfere with, you know, an important transmission. So every scanner radio built has birdies. It's like that. All the radios do. It's just that it depends where they show up, and of course, the more expensive radios will tend to have less of them. One of the questions somebody asked me was, how do I know if it's a birdie that's internally made by the receiver or if it's a signal or a carrier that might be somewhere around me? So there are three things that can show up as carriers. Birdies made internally by the device. You might have a solid carrier created by your electronic devices around you. For example, if your computer is turned on, you might hear carriers at certain intervals and certain places in the VHF, the UHF range that come out of the different electronics of the computer, the screen, and so on. And of course, there's the carriers that maybe there's something out there, like, you know, I was tuning the, right now I'm tuning 149.620, there's a strong carrier here. Well, that is a carrier that I know has some voice from time to time. If you want to know if it's a birdie, simply detach the antenna of your scanner. If it's a birdie, you'll still have the carrier. with no antennas on it. So if you got a carrier without the antenna, it's a birdie made by the radio itself, because it's picking it up from the circuit itself. If you remove your antenna and the signal drops, then you're either listening to, if there's no information in it, you're either listening to some signal created by an electronic device around you, or it could be a carrier or something that doesn't have a lot of information, but from time to time you might hear something if you've listened to it for a long time. Cyberflyer 1, nice to have you on board. Says got scanners from the 90s, Uniden UBC 9000 XLT tabletop, and the MVT 7100 handheld, and they still work very well. And these are nice. I almost had a MVT 7100 at one point, and then decided to wait and got a iComix here 20 instead. Mick has got a Pro 26 and Pro 404, good fun. Mario DXer says I have a GRE scanner that looks very similar to that one. Could even be a rebrand. Oh, totally possible. A lot of the scanner radios actually were made by GRE for Realistic or for Radio Shack. I believe Radio Shack, the Realistic brand, some of it were from GRE in Japan, and some of it were from, there were some Uniden that actually were rebranded as Realistic. So, you know, most of the devices, most of the radios and the stuff like that were not made by Radio Shack themselves. They simply, you know, looked at some radio somewhere and would go to GRE and say, hey, we would like to have one, but, you know, branded Realistic or branded Radio Shack. And there were a lot of GRE scanners that were actually rebranded Radio Shack and Realistic. And of course, when you look at them, they are exactly the same. It's just that one has the GRE brand, the other one has Realistic or Radio Shack on it. John McClure had the Pro 43. I like my Pro 43. It's an analog, but I have to say that one also, this one also, I would not depart. I like it. It's a very fast scanner, and for analog stuff, pretty good. The only problem I had with the Pro 43 was, and you know, for a lot of portable radios, that's a problem. One of the problems that I had was low audio when you're outdoors. I would often bring my radios outdoors, and when it's a little noisy, you barely hear the audio, even at maximum level. And so that always been a problem I found with the Pro 43, low audio outdoors. And it's funny because I was thinking about that this week. When I went outside with my XH Data D808 portable and my RadioWow R108, I immediately understood that the audio level of these portable radios is actually lower than on some of my portable receivers. So kind of interesting. I had to pump up the volume really high, and yet it wasn't that strong. So, you know. Radio Week signal work. I saw a review of the Uniden SDS 200 police scanner. It looks to be quite interesting. It does have a very weird, there are a few things that I find the design is kind of weird, and the way that they thought about it and where they put some of the plugs. But it does look quite impressive and interesting. And so it has true IQ out. It's a trunk scanner. So I'm looking at it here in the US. Ham Radio Outlet has it for $700. So I just find it a little awkward for some of the placements of some of the connectors. especially the ones on the front. It's ready to be plugged into the through your network if you want, and all of that, and controlled by your PC. It looks pretty nice. Direct Ethernet connectivity for streaming and control. Complete USA Canada radio database. 3.5-inch customizable color display. So, kind of interesting. Trunk tracker. APCO P25 phase 1, phase 2. Motorola EDAX and LTR trunking. Moto Turbo Capacity Plus and Connect Plus. DMR Tier 3. iTera XPT single channel DMR. NXDN 4800 and 9600. EDAX Pro Voice. Looks quite interesting, quite impressive. A lot of stuff in here. Frequency coverage, right? It's a standard frequency coverage, 25 to 510 megahertz, 512 megahertz, 758 to 824, 849, 869, 895, 960, and 1240, 1300. So I never understood why they jump. Anybody can tell me why they jump over the, if you start at 895 and it goes to 960 and then 1240, 1300. Why are anybody can tell me why they're clipping out from 960 to 1240? I don't understand that. Is there something there that I don't know about? Is there some kind of analog cell phone somewhere in the world or something? I don't know why I don't understand why it stops at 960. It should go just 895 to 1300. I would like one like this, but I would like to have it, like an analog version that would be continuous from 25 to 1300. Looks interesting though. Looks very interesting, I gotta say. And I'm not sure, but I think one of the guys that comes here from time to time that was in the chat room yesterday for Shortwave, Eric Cottrell, I think he has one. I'd have to ask him what he thinks about it. For sure. Yep, still SDR. That's also something you got to remember. J.D. Williamson, as you say, there's SDRs, software-defined receivers, that do the VHF UHF. And what's very interesting and funny about it is that SDRs, I guess for some reason of brand of I don't know, licensing, they don't have that cutoff of the analog cell band and stuff. They're continuous. So here that this RSP1A goes from 1 kilohertz all the way up to 2 gigahertz, which is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board listening to Airband Communications on 118.100 tower frequency for Barcelona. And you know what? Thinking of that, how about we do something here? How about I will drop myself. Okay, we're going to use the scanner feature of the new SDR Uno. So scanner range, scanner config. Okay, let's start frequency. Start frequency. Okay, let me just no, let's go to the airband directly. Airband North America. Here we go. So airband. Okay, threshold. Wow, threshold is like really low here. Let's put the threshold on minus 100. Okay. Let's put the threshold is very high. And let's put the volume higher. A little higher. And here I'm scanning the airband. Threshold is way too high though. Oh, look at that. It's scanning the airband. Pretty cool. I'm just going to have to change one thing. Let's go back to scanner config. Let's put the hold time to 10 seconds. And let's put the threshold to minus. I got a very low threshold here. Let's put the threshold to minus 120. And continuous loop, yes. Display threshold, yes. Or I could also say hold, wait on signal. Okay, so let's scan again. So this is scanning the airband with SDR Uno, new version. There's some kind of digital stuff there. That's kind of interesting. So we'll hear some error communications in the background while it's scanning the airband. $127,500 is the Attis. Look at that. This is kind of cool. Kind of cool. Oh, I didn't see the signal. Probably I was at the 149, so there's not close, not very far from actually from 149, 620. If it was on the right, it was on a higher frequency. There's a bell that actually uses some of the old frequencies they had from the first generation cell phones that were on the low 150 VHF range. It might have been that. I didn't see it, unfortunately, while you guys were talking about it. It could have been something else also. Sorry guys, I didn't see it. Joe Sombra Newhouse, nice to have you here from Brazil. So, yeah, I need to check that out. That's what I would like, because, I mean, it's not that difficult. You could buy a sheet of electroluminescent stuff and cut it out and change it from time to time, but I would actually like to have an LED display here so that it's just going to stay like that, you know. Fast Load says had a Pro 52. I don't remember that one, the Pro 52. You've probably seen a lot of those. You worked at you work at Radio Shack at one point, hey, Fastlow? Pro Realistic Pro 52. Oh man, a crystal scanner. Oh man, that's old. That's old. Youch. John McClure says the Pro 96 speaker was made for loud areas. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Really nice. Mario DXer says, I think the signal spiking on the right side of the SDR display is a pager. Oh, it could be. There's a pager frequency that in that area also. There's absolutely Mario DXer. That could actually be that. There's a pager frequency from time to time on that range. Absolutely. The chances are it was probably that. PageMaster says air traffic control radar 960 1215 according to my knowledge. Yeah, I know that there's like, you know, the There's the transponder 1090 megahertz and stuff like that. But I don't know why they would jump over the frequency range, honestly, you know. James S., nice to have you here, says Uniden charges extra for certain decodas like NXDN. You know, that is something that always annoys me on manufacturers of devices. I mean, if you're to make a radio, okay, and sell it $1,000, it better do everything and not have you spend more to get the extra stuff. I don't like that. That will actually turn me off from buying a device. Hey, it's fun. I'm scanning the airband with the new scanning feature of the SDR Uno with the RSP1A. That's interesting, Adriel DXer, because I heard some digital. So you say it could be 8 cars? I need to check that out. That could be interesting. I need to check that out. Huh. So one of the things also somebody was asking me that I want to answer is I get a lot of people that ask me a question about what's above 1 gigahertz. And you know, that's the thing. When you go above 1 gigahertz, there really ain't that much. You know, there's a lot of what's going on in radio that is marketing. I mean, they got me once with that. With, oh, look at that, that radio goes to, you know. They might have gotten also with the R20 here, because after all, it does go to 3,300 megahertz or 3.3 gigahertz, but in reality it's an up converter that does it. Honestly, when people ask me what is there above 1 gigahertz, there ain't that much, honestly, for the most part. Yes, having something that goes above 1 gigahertz, you might receive the transponders from the airplanes on 1090 megahertz. There's an amateur band in the 1200 megahertz range. And maybe if you got a really good receiver and antenna, there's some satellite stuff that is in the 1.5, 1.6 gigahertz. One thing that I did, you know, I mean, if you want to listen to the buzzes of your router at 2,400 megahertz, I mean, you know, there's that, and there's maybe a few things in the 2,400, 2,450 megahertz range, but honestly, there's no need. There's no need to have anything that goes above 1 gigahertz for the most part. You're not losing out on much by not getting something that goes above 1 gigahertz. I'm not impressed at anything there, and maybe someday. I mean, maybe at some point there'll be more stuff in the higher frequency ranges, but because when I look at the way that, for example, here the repeaters for commercial stuff, like all the companies that are on trunk and stuff. As time went by, I thought that maybe having a radio that goes above 1 gigahertz would be an important thing, because at some point I saw that some of the trunk stuff was in the 900 megahertz range. And I thought, well, if they are going and moving up all the time like this, maybe at some point there will be some stuff to listen to at the above 1 gigahertz. But it kind of stays, everything almost stays below 1 gigahertz. For the rest, well, there's dedicated stuff, if you want to listen to, and you can do it quite easily. One of the fun things that I did a few times on your Android phone or tablet, you can actually go and there's the ADSB receiver that you can actually, it's Avari ADSB it's called. And Avari ADSB is kind of nice. What happens is that you plug your cheap RTL SDR on your Android tablet or phone, and with the Avari SD ADSB software that you could see here with the map of Montreal, it actually gets the ADSB radar, and it actually will decode it and give you a positioning of the planes on the map. And you really just need a $10 RTL SDR dongle, and it actually works fine. I've done it so many times with my RTL SDR, and it just works. But if you want to actually maximize and have the best reception, dedicated antenna for the 1090 megahertz frequency, 1090 megahertz or 1.09 gigahertz is probably the best. But I had pretty good success, honestly, with that little teeny weeny antenna that comes with the dongle. And I put it in the window, and I actually had many signals actually on it. I almost feel like doing a demonstration, but I don't know where my RTL dongle is, because if it was kind of close, I would have, I don't see it anywhere. I would have done a demonstration. It actually is a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun actually playing around with this. It's really, really cool, and it's one of those things that's kind of really, really cool to do actually. So all you need is an RTL SDR dongle. You need to have the SDR Touch driver for the dongle, which is, I believe, SDR Touch. So there's a driver that you have to, the RTL SDR driver, which I do have here. So once that is installed so it can work on the Android device, you can use your RTL SDR and just track them on your phone or your tablet. It is kind of a lot of fun. Honestly, it's one of those cool things that you can do. But there's a few things like that. Okay, thanks, Radio DXer. So it's definitely 8 cars that I was hearing here. Well, you know what? I'm going to check that up. I want to see that. Is 900 megahertz usually a GSM band or radar? Well, here in North America, 900 megahertz isn't used for GSM. We are more in the 1900 megahertz. I mean, if we go here, let's go just for let's stop the scan here and go to 1950 or 1960. So 1.9 gigahertz. There's here you can hear a lot of that digital hash. A lot of digital hash from the GSMs. This is what you hear. What you hear there, that's the GSM or the smartphones that that we use every day. It's 1.9 gigahertz in that range here in North America, pretty much. But I know that there's a 900 megahertz range. I know that there's a 600 or 700 megahertz range. But I think it depends maybe on the country around the world. I don't know. Eddie Essex says 4 gigahertz where the US launches missile remotely. So, you know, there's stuff like that that's kind of interesting. Jeff K, nice to have you on board. N2ZNN. And I got a question also concerning repeaters, somebody was asking me because he just didn't understand the purpose of a repeater in the amateur radio band. So think about it like this. So of course VHF UHF signals are, unless some weird phenomena is happening, line of sight. So that means you will transmit and it will be line of sight. So you might do, 50, 60 kilometers, and then the signal will be, because the earth is curved, so the signal is just going to continue and be lost in space at some point. And because of that curvature, well, you're not in the, you can't technically see the antenna, so you won't actually hear that signal anymore. But there's a trick to extend how far a signal can go, and it's called a repeater. So on the amateur band, a repeater is made to actually give a bigger coverage for amateur radio transmissions. So if you put the repeater on top of a mountain, for example, well, what's going to happen is that first, since the mountain is much higher, it will extend the range, but also it will extend the range in another way. When you have line of sight, if you can reach 50 kilometers, an example, this is just an example, by the way. If you reach 50 kilometers before you can't go further, it's cool. Now, put a repeater at that 50 kilometer point. So you'll put up an antenna and a repeater. You can reach the repeater that is on top of that mountain, but that repeater is made to repeat the signal on a different frequency from that mountain point. So now, maybe somebody 50 kilometers away from the repeater on the other side. So now that's 100 kilometers distance, but with the repeater in the middle. That guy 100 kilometers away will hear you because you can reach the repeater, and the repeater retransmits your signal, and it continues even further away. So a repeater will extend the coverage of signals. And often because they're high up and often well positioned, they will help not just to extend the range, but they will help in general communications, because maybe you have, too much trees and buildings between 2 points, and you're trying to reach that with 50 watts and it doesn't work because there's too many obstacles, so the signal isn't good. But maybe you can reach your repeater well because it's higher up usually. Well, you might be, because that's also another use for a repeater, you might be only 10 kilometers away from each other but have difficulty talking. An example, if you're using a handy-talkie, if you're using a walkie-talkie on 2 meters, well, that range might be smaller because of the small antenna on it, the fact that it's not plugged into an outdoor antenna. Well, that will also help because maybe you can reach the repeater. So you might have a clearer conversation even with an amateur radio operator that's only 10 streets away from where you live, because both can reach the repeater well. It makes for a good communication, clear communication, but maybe even though it's just 10 streets, when you direct, it doesn't work well. So it improves upon the communications with everybody. And repeaters are kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of repeaters on the VHF UHF ranges, and it's fun. It's there to extend the range and to help and also make clearer communication possible, for sure. Yes, 1090 megahertz. 1090 megahertz is aircraft radar. So using, if you use RTL dongle in an Android phone or tablet in that Avari ADSB, it's cool because you can see the planes show up on the map with the locations, because you get all that digital data, which is kind of cool. Oh, absolutely. Like PageMaster says, you have input-output frequencies on repeaters, because that's also the other thing. Because a repeater, for example, does not transmit on the same frequency that you're actually broadcasting on, because that would be interference created. So a repeater will have an input frequency, the one that you talk on, and of course it's a split transmission, so the reception is on a different frequency. Very often, most repeaters are something like 600 kilohertz from one to the other. So, for example, here there's one that I listen to on Mont-Rougemont. Its output frequency is 146.700. Its input frequency is 146.100. And that's where they say, sometimes you hear guys say, oh, is that repeater plus or minus? Well, that simply means, is it plus 600 kilohertz or minus 600 kilohertz that I have to transmit in order to actually trigger the repeater. So that's why you'll hear sometimes people saying, oh, yeah, that repeater is plus. Well, that means that the frequency that you will punch in to communicate with it will be 600 kilohertz higher, and the receive frequency will be 600 kilohertz lower. I'm not aware, are there different, because I believe for the most part it's like 600 kilohertz or something. Are there repeaters that sometimes have a different ratio of input-output frequencies? Just out of curiosity. Nissan Greenwich, nice to have you on board. Do MilSatCom still exist on UHF? Yes, they do. And there's actually some activity. If you have a good antenna, there's Brazilians that are kind of using them for They pirate the UHF band with all sorts of stuff in the 250, 60 megahertz range. But they do still exist, absolutely, Nissan. Hey, Matt. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Maybe it's conditions or something, because they do still exist, my friend. Kenny Clover likes crossband repeaters. Thanks, Matt. 600 kilohertz on 2 meters and 5 megahertz on 70 centimeters. That's nice. I didn't know that. Okay. Kenny Clover says, I have a repeater using 3.5 megahertz VHF split using a commercial duplexer. So UHF repeaters are at plus or minus 5 megahertz. Cool. Thanks for the info. It's kind of nice. I was wondering. I didn't know that there was a difference on the VHF UHF range. So you guess, you know what? You learn something every day, guys. Huh? You learn something every day. And what else do we have here? Let me just check it out. That's pretty much, we've gone through pretty much all the questions. Maybe we could check out if there's some satellites that, by the way, all the time that I was doing the show, we were on the VHF UHF range here, but I was on the 6 meter ham band with the Yaesu FT450 here. Was actually tuned to the JT65 frequency, just in case there was some communications there. You never know. Oh, really? VC2W contesting in Boucherville, 7142. That's just south of Montreal, southeast. So, I'm just going to check it out quickly here. 35 degrees is not high, but let's try this. There's a amateur satellite 145980 A085. Oops. We'll narrow it down. We'll see if there's anything on 14590 coming in. Should be something here. There's a satellite passing overhead. We're at a maximum in pretty much now. So I don't know if it's going to be audible. No, I don't have my ham license right now. Still not. But soon, don't worry guys. I told you this year I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. So I'll be there. I mean, I got a rig now. And I got an offer from someone that says if you get your license, he has a 2-meter rig for me. So, you know, that's pretty cool. But soon, don't worry guys. I'm going to be there. Man, I got something that just came up. And now I forgot. I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, concerning ISS. So as we are here, the International Space Station will have a slow scan TV event coming up. 2 of them that are planned for April of 2019. Sorry guys. I'm going to open myself a beer number 2 because I've got my a little bit of throat problems. I don't know why. I just sang at karaoke and went to bed at 5 a.m. So there are some slow scan TV stuff happening from the International Space Station. One is coming up this coming Monday and Tuesday. And one is coming up later in the month. It will be on April the 12th. Around April the 12th. No official schedule yet, but somewhere around April 12th there's going to be something. So we'll keep you updated on that information. So this coming Monday and Tuesday, April 1st and 2nd, roughly 14 to 1900 UTC. So it's a very short time period. Very short window. 14 to 19 UTC. There will be SSTV transmissions. Now the reason why they are in that little time range is because the transmissions are made for orbits when the International Space Station will be in range of Moscow, Russia. Because that's what they're targeting. I did look here, and if I look at the International Space Station over Montreal, this coming Monday, there's, so they said 14 to 19. I actually have 3 passes of the International Space Station available in that range on Monday. And on Tuesday, I also have 3. No, actually I have 2. 2 on Tuesday, and I've got 3 on Monday. So that means there could be a possibility for me to get this here in Montreal on some of those passes, because I do have a few passes that will be in that time range. So I'm crossing my fingers that maybe I'll be able to receive the signal and actually decode the pictures. So if you guys are in Europe, you guys 14 to 19 UTC, there are passes. Of course, passes over Moscow means there'll be passes over Europe. So 14 to 19 UTC, Monday and Tuesday. The frequency to tune 145.800. 145.800 in FM mode. The SSTV mode used will be MAI 75. MAI 75. If you use most software actually will adjust automatically to the code, the mode used for the decode. But if you aren't sure and you want to put it manually, MAI 75. So 14 to 19 UTC, they say roughly, so it could be plus or minus a little bit, on April 1st and April 2nd. And after that, there could be something. They say that preliminary scheduling shows ISS slow scan TV likely around April the 12th. So more details later once the official schedule is released in a week or so. So that's what we have for the International Space Station, guys. You'll be able to tune that Monday and Tuesday. Okay? So Kenny Clover, you use 1200 megahertz? I never heard anything in the 12 megahertz range. Hey, Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. Says news on the scanner front. Whistler withdrew their new TRX 100 and TRX 200 scanners, slated to be released Q2 2019. They were to be IQ-based scanners like Uniden SDS 100, SDS 200. Huh. Do you know why, Eric? Have they given a reason why they've removed them? Manreader the Extra, thanks for the info. We'll try Monday and Tuesday for ISS. I'll try it here too, for sure. David says, I hope to be under ISS footprint as it transmits the SSTV and captures some images. Got 2 slow scan TV awards already. Always cool. Cool. JD Williamson says, might be in luck to catch the ISS. Cool. Eric says, I've been having fun playing with VDL2 on 136.975. It is basically a higher speed form of ACARS. So that's what I was hearing on the VHF airband earlier. I need to try that out. What are you using as software or apps or anything, Eric? Out of curiosity. Kenny Clover says, I like the 1200 megahertz not having too much people. In the USA, the rules aren't enforced too much, so no jammers or crazy people causing trouble. Okay, no reason, Eric. Cool. Thanks for the info, though. It's interesting. I don't know. Maybe they. I'd be curious. I'd be curious to know how many of these receivers do they sell when they actually make them. I mean, it costs a lot of money to, design them and make sure that and have them prepared and manufactured. So I mean, they must sell quite a few to do it. But it's kind of interesting. Maybe one of the problems with that was that the reasons given not given because maybe it's they're afraid they're not going to sell enough, or I don't know. or they came onto some kind of a snag or something. That also, like you said, Candy Clover, maybe they withdrew because it has bugs and won't be released in a dysfunctional state. Yeah, that's possible. Totally, everything's possible. There could be a major bug in it, and you don't know. I gotta say, Candy, as you're talking about the 1200 megahertz range not being too crowded, man, it is so annoying to have all of that interference from idiots on the 2-meter bands and stuff. I mean, even here in Montreal, if you listen to a repeater for an evening, you'll have tons of idiots. I can tell you that. So, Eric Cottrell, I use dump VDL2 under Linux. It can be used with the SDR Play. Multi-PSK can also decode it under Windows. Oh, really? I'm going to check that out with multi-PSK. What is it called in multi-PSK? Just out of curiosity. I'm just gonna start multi-PSK here, and see transmit screen. I guess it would be professional modes. Oh, ACARS VHF. Look at that. There's a thing called ACARS VHF. I guess that is what you use, ACARS VHF. I would guess. Is that frequency the same everywhere? 136.975, or it depends on the airports where we are? Because I'd be curious to find a frequency and play with that tonight. So here's a map. Huh. Okay. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. I like that. Okay. I'm gonna have to play with that for sure. Let's go back here to scanner config. There we go. What about if I lower this to 2 and wait on signal? And let's oops, AM. Oh, I can't wait on signal. I'm never going to continue. So let's just do this and put hold time. 5 seconds.
For your 2 unclear.
Well, this is too short.
Second 318. T18, Roger. And
There we go.
800 feet, smooth transition. Check that.
Kind of cool though. That scanning feature is really, really fun on SDR Uno. I can tell you that. $136,975 is a worldwide frequency. Huh, okay. Man Radio DXer, Casual, you can try that 129 megahertz signal you had. Should work with standard ACARS. Okay, kind of interesting. You guys are actually giving me ideas of having fun tonight with that, for sure. Erica Charles says there is some 1200 megahertz activity around here. The nearest repeater is up in Maine. A friend in Pepperell, Maine, Massachusetts, or MA. Can work the repeaters at time. Huh. I'm gonna check something here. There's the repeater stuff. I need to check out 1200 megahertz. I'm not sure there's any activity. I've scanned or listened from time to time. but never really heard of any activity in that 1.2 gigahertz range here in Montreal. I'm wondering if there's something happening. You know, it's like that 224 megahertz range, 220 megahertz range. I mean, there's a repeater in Montreal, and the other day, just by accident, I heard two guys talking for half an hour, but there's so little activity that unless you're there when it happens, you might kind of think that there's actually nothing happening. I'm just going to check that out here. Montreal. Okay. Trying to find information about anything like that here. But let me check the repeaters from repeaterbook.com. Any repeaters or anything on the 1200 here? Nope. Seems that the highest repeater reported here would be 449975. It doesn't seem it continues higher than that. Oh, really? A VDL2 button? Let's just go back into multi-PSK. Transmit screen. Oh yeah, there is a VDL2 button. I didn't see it. Absolutely, there's a VTL2 button. Cool. So that's what I use to do that. Well, I'm going to check that out. VDL2 button. Okay, VDL2. I'll remember that. Oh, thanks. I'm learning stuff today. That's kind of cool. So scanning the airband here is kind of fun. Kind of fun. It is really kind of fun. It does scan quite fast, the airband too. Huh. Pretty cool. Okay. Anything else that you guys want to add to all of this? Anything unusual? Anything you guys can be doing on VHF UHF? While you guys think about it, I will just post me, if you want to help me out, paypal.me/shortwave, or simply send to the Yahoo email that you have here to send a little something if you want to add a donation. I actually have used some of yesterday's donation to actually purchase a new lighting system at a local store here today, and that's why there is less darkness in my life because the other one actually burned out after it gave me a good 3 years of live shows. So, you know, and I purchased it for something like $100 about 3, if not 4 years ago on eBay. So it gave me a good life, you know. And I got a new one today, which is interesting because if it has different colors and different effects. If I like it, it's a little more expensive. It's like 175. But if I like it, I might replace everything I got here with that and have multiple of them, because even have some in the background there, because I could have, like, you know, the walls green or the walls blue or the walls orange, change colors as I feel in the background. It would add more of, I don't know, kind of cuteness to the image, so you guys would be looking at the colors instead of looking at my face all the time. So yesterday's donations went towards buying that thing, and of course that's what I explain all the time. That's where the money goes, investing in equipment that wears out over time and that you can use. I can tell you that. Blinded by the light. Isn't that a song? Jill can see the light again. I see the light. I'm tired, but I see the light. It's going to be the VHF and shortwave disco shows. Absolutely, J.D. Williamson. Erica Charles says 1200 is mainly used for weak signal in satellite. Not really a major FM repeater band. In New England, 900 more popular. Yeah, I know there's a range there, 900. I scanned 900 so many times. Apart from hearing a few analog smartphones, long time ago, and some baby monitors on 900. Wonder if we go to 900, see if I can actually see something. I'm just going to change one setting though. Okay, so here we're going to stop. We're going to stop. So the scanner portion is kind of cool. Let me just change one thing here in the settings, because okay, spectrum base is, okay, here's the spectrum base, very low. I need to check something. I find that my base is so low, I'm almost wondering if there's nothing wrong with my antennas.
Southwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. Now for the official National Weather Service forecast for north central Vermont and the western slopes of the Green Mountains.
I am receiving the NOAA weather quite well from Burlington, Vermont on 162.400. Signals seem to be nice. S7 is pretty much what I have usually. Let's what's on 900? Anything on 900 that I could see here? And oh, let's scan the range. We got a scanner. Let's go here. Let's do a custom. And let's start with, okay, let's just, so that's, it was in hertz. I hate it in hertz. I'm always lost in the number of zeros I got to put. Okay, okay, let's just go here for a second. Airband. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Custom preset 1. Let's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I put 9 here, that's 900 megahertz, and put 930 here with zeros. 930, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I believe that is 900 to 930 megahertz. Step 12.5, I believe, is the step in that range. Hold time 5 seconds. I can threshold at pretty much minus 120 should be okay. Save preset. Nope, no step of 12,500 hertz. Step, save, and scale. Oops, it's an FM that I need to scan. We got something on 912 that looks like a birdie or something. But I know that there's some baby monitors there. There's some baby monitors in there. Oh, you got to try it, Erica Charlie. You'll love it. Really, really love it. I can tell you that. Oh yeah, it's Manfred Mann. Blinded by the Light. Hey Kimberly, nice to have you here from California. You got to try it, Eric. You'll like it. SDR Uno with the new scanning feature, you'll love it. I can tell you that. It's really a lot of fun, and it actually adds so much to the fact that you can tune a VHF UHF range. And the fact that, you know, because one of the things we do with all radios on the VHF UHF is scan. So it really is a lot of fun, actually. Matt says, I have yet to hook up a VHF antenna to his RSP2 Pro and test out the scanning feature. My setup isn't too conductive to doing VHF because the feed line for my 2-meter antenna is just a bit too short. Yeah, and you know what? One of the things I got to say, here is that my antenna is, you know, like here at 900 megahertz range, I probably have a lot of loss in my coax, because this isn't, you know, I don't have LMR 400 or stuff like that has much lower loss at higher frequencies, and I wouldn't need to actually redo all the line with, you know, like LMR 400 and really get much more signal, because I probably have a lot of loss at 900 megahertz and above with the regular coax I've got here. It doesn't happen too much. Or it isn't much of a problem in the shortwave range, as loss is minimal. But in that high frequency range, that really starts to show when you're actually getting more loss because of your feed line. So that's something at some point I'll need to fix. Anyways, I am in the month of May this year. There could be a possibility I'll be skipping the shows for a week, because everything here is coming down so that I can paint the walls and paint the rest of the apartment. And what's going to happen with that also is that I was thinking that if I'm about to do that, maybe do the feed lines brand new with new coax, everything, make everything right. So you know, and the problem here is that my coax from the VHF UHF antenna to here is about 75 feet. I can't be shorter than that. So I have a long feed line. So that means, you know, long feed line, 900 megahertz probably has loss, so much loss in there. I can tell you that. So hey guys, nice to have you here. We'll say goodbye for tonight for several reasons. I'm tired from me coming back home at 5 a.m. and also the fact that I need to actually complete my World of Utilities column tonight and send it to Sheldon before he gets mad. And of course, I'll be tuning the bands and tuning shortwave and having fun with radio tonight, as I'm actually finishing up the World of Utility column. Tomorrow, don't forget, guys, International Radio Report for those that want to listen in. CKUT.ca is where it's happening. It's at 14:30 UTC if you listen live, or CKUT.ca. You can listen to the archived show. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I think it was a fun and interesting show for the VHF UHF stuff. And Madam Bellies, last thing you need is Sheldon nagging on CKUT about your column. I don't think he would do that, but I'll be checking that out. David says using AirCell 5 coax cable for both HF and VHF UHF runs works great on both cases. Same diameter as the RG58, so it can be used as same connectors. That's what I got here, RG58. On HF isn't too bad, but on PageMaster says, well, my SDR play says device cannot be initialized. Unplug it, shut down SDR Uno, unplug it, and plug it back, and restart SDR Uno. I have a little bit more of weird things happening since SDR 1.3. David, take care of me, my friend. Nissan Greenwich, does Concordia University still have a ham shack? I believe it does. Still, from what I understood last time, I believe it still does. So take care, my friends. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Next show is April. Yeah, we'll be there next week. We'll be in the month of April. So Friday, April 5th. Friday, April the 5th at 2000 UTC. We'll be back. We'll be tuning the bands, talking shortwave, trying to find new schedules, and don't forget for the shortwave schedules. Tomorrow is the start of the A19 schedule season. It's the start of the new schedules for your favorite stations. So if tomorrow you don't find your station in the specific frequency you always listen, it might have changed its frequency because of that. Take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe. See you Friday, April the 5th. At 2000 hours Universal Time. Bye-bye.